They're here.
The Tommy Boyds Show.
This must be where pies go when they die.
You're the most cold-blooded man I've ever seen.
How can you have any meat if you don't eat your pudding?
The Tommy Boyds Show.
Back to the left. Yeah.
The show with more endurance than radiation itself.
You say either, and I say either.
Apparently official. Stand by, please.
Tommy Boyds.
Apparently official.
Have you no compassion?
Stand by, please.
Let's rehang the pictures in the gallery of life.
There's no escaping here.
Tommy Boyds.
Why do we have the weather forecast? Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's interesting, isn't it? It dominates any broadcasting operation that you get. There's a half a page of it in some of the big newspapers. Why? Why? In the big newspapers, they'll not only tell you what the weather's like in Britain, but they'll give you detailed weather forecasts for places like Thailand and the United States of America. I want you to tell me why we have a weather forecast, because look at your life. When was the last time you did anything differently because a weather forecaster told you what it was possibly going to roughly be like that afternoon? Never. We've conquered the weather. The weather is an absolute irrelevance in our lives. You don't need a weather forecast. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of space. I know that Maria would dearly like to be absolved from the responsibility of ripping it off the machine and making it sound interesting, which she does. It's a real challenge to some broadcasters. But you don't need a weather forecast. I don't need a weather forecast. Farmers don't need a weather forecast. They've been farming for hundreds of years, most of them. They only have to look out of the window to know what the weather is going to be like the following June. I'm serious. I used to have neighbours who were farmers. One of them was amazing. He used to be able to smell if a fox had gone past our garden gate. That's how good farmers are. They don't need John Ketley. You don't need John Ketley. It's a complete waste of space. Free call at 0500 10 53 89. This isn't about the fact that weather forecasts are often wrong. It's about the fact that you accept all this stuff in your face all day long, each night, every night, and it's a complete affront to your fundamental intelligence, because actually you know what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. You do. You only have to look at it today, work out roughly what it's been like the last 24 hours, and that's more or less what it's going to be like tomorrow. So why, when you turn on your television tonight, if you do, and you get your regional news programme, and the two regional news presenters have a little bit of banter with the woman in the blazer at the map, and then she turns to you with her little sub-map of the country, depending on where you live, and she delivers you 5 minutes of nonsense, because it's only approximate anyway, and then the programme finishes and they go to the national weather. They do. They do. You often get it. You really get it at 10:30. It really annoys me. You get a national weather forecast followed immediately by a regional weather forecast. And look at the weather forecast that they wrap up, the stuff they wrap it up with on ITV. Who is that guy who is the wind? I quite like the look of Mrs. Frost, but that's a personal thing. Free call 0500 10 53 89. They're wasting our time. They're wasting our money. They're insulting our intelligence. You just don't need a weather forecast. Look, I'll tell you how ludicrous it is. You, I can see into your soul. You haven't got a clue what 8 degrees Celsius feels like. You haven't, have you? I haven't either. All right. It's 11 degrees Celsius tomorrow. What are you going to wear? Exactly. And what's an occluded front? They always mention it. You haven't got a clue. Huh? And it's a line with some sharp cones on it, interspersed with some sort of half moons. You don't know what that means. You've seen millions of them in your life, and you've allowed them to talk about occluded fronts and Celsius and centigrade all your life, and you've never got onto them and shouted, "No! Enough!" And look at them all anyway. They are all of them, all of a likeness, aren't they? They breed, they intermate or something. Or maybe even they don't. Somebody once told me that the only requirement for a weather forecaster on television is not that they studied meteorology, but that they are, in fact, still a virgin. Free call 0500 10 53 89. A word with Paul, who calls from Leicester. Paul, you're on Talk Radio.
Yeah, I need them. I need them for my work, and I need them for my hobby. I'd be lost without them.
What do you do?
Well, I'm a roofer, and a flat roofer in particular, which is even worse, because if it rains and I've stripped somebody's roof off, it's goodbye carpets, goodbye ceiling, goodbye grand piano, hello court case. So I need them.
You trust the weather forecast, do you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I hope nobody is thinking of using you as a flat roofer who's listening to this, because we don't trust anybody who trusts the weather forecast, Paul. They get it right they get it wrong most of the time. But that isn't what this is about. Look at the sheer quantity of it, the wall-to-wall covering of weather forecasts that virtually every broadcast and every broadsheet employs. Why? I don't know. I think it fills up space. What's your hobby? What's your hobby?
Oh, sailing.
Oh! Sailing. Whereabouts in Leicester do you go sailing, man?
Not in Leicester. I go sailing on the south coast.
Yes.
And,
how far do you sail then?
Oh, wherever you like. Channel Islands, northern Spain, France,
Yeah.
Ireland.
Yes.
You need a weather forecast.
Okay, well, two things I would say. First of all, you're right. If you
Yeah,
trust
I'm
the weather forecasters, you're taking your life into your hands. Secondly, if you can afford a yacht that size, you're charging far too much for what is actually a very easy job, which is slapping down a bit of felt and tacking it in. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio, and there's a good argument for listening.
The Tommy Boyd Radio Experiment.
Els is in the kitchen.
Hey, girls, why not phone up Tommy now and tell him what a jug-headed, peanut-brained, weasel-faced, fourth-magnitude misfit from the 70s he is on free call 0500 1053 89.
No, girlies, don't do it now. Call up after 4 o'clock when we're going to be discussing hairdressing. That's probably more your sort of thing. We're talking about the weather, which is the thing that blokes know about. And blokes talk about it. You know, they say the Brits just discuss the weather. Actually, it's British blokes. The closest they can come to having a conversation. British women talk about relationships. But we're discussing weather. And all those weather forecasts. It was an email from a listener who said, why do we have so many weather forecasts? Dang right. Free call 0500 10 53 89. The weather doesn't matter anymore. We've got all-weather pitches. We've got covered shopping precincts. And if you want to go out and about, well, frankly, a bit of rough weather makes it more interesting, makes it more virile, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Asif calls from Hove. Asif, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, Tommy. I, say that we do need weather forecast because I run a car boot sale on Saturday morning, and I need to find out the day before what the weather's going to be like. Because obviously, I pay for this land I have, which I hire, and I only pay depending on whether I do the car boot sale on Saturday or not. And if I find out that the weather is going to be raining on Saturday, then obviously I don't pay...
You don't know it's going to be raining until Friday afternoon.
Sorry?
They don't say what's going to be like on Saturday morning until Friday afternoon.
No, but they give you like a 3-day outlook.
No, they don't. And it's not worth the paper it's printed on, man. Is it? Is it? No! You'll never know on a Wednesday what the weather's going to be like on a Saturday, man.
But the thing is, if I, on say Thursday night or Friday, I know what the weather's going to be like for Saturday.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You've got some sort of an idea. What you're using is a crutch here. You're using a prop. You're trying to get somebody else to take the blame. You're the guy who makes the decision about whether the car boot sale is on or off. You need John Cleckley to back you up.
No, but the point is that, if I know for sure that it's going to be raining, then that way I don't have to...
But you don't! You never know for sure if it's going to be raining. This is Great Britain, man.
I know it's not for sure, but the thing is that you have a rough idea, whether...
But any of us can have a rough idea on a Thursday. Look out the window now. What's it doing? What's it doing?
It's not raining at the moment, I know that.
Well, that's roughly what it will be like on Saturday, man. It is.
But you use it as a guide,
Well, you don't need it. Trust yourself. Trust your own judgment. And to have a car boot sale in the rain, for crying out loud, you make just as much money.
No one will turn up. No one will definitely, you know, if it's raining, no one turns up.
How do you know?
Because we tried it.
Well, why did you try it?
Because obviously, you know, in the beginning it wasn't raining and we got there and it started pouring.
Oh, I see. In other words, the weather forecast wasn't right that day.
It wasn't quite right, no.
It wasn't quite right. Exactly, it wasn't quite right. People flocked to this country as ape men because of the changeable weather. I'll explain why that was the case later. Kevin calls from Kent. Kevin, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Kevin.
I think weathermen are a necessary evil, because being a window cleaner, I have to have a look every day to see what the weather's going to be. But other times, like, it's going to be sunny all day. I take it easy, chucked it down with rain. Oh, it's going to rain the next day. I think, oh, God, now I'll go up later. Nice and sunny. Don't know what they're talking about half the time. Then sometimes they are, so I'm on 50-50.
Ignore them. You ignore them.
My wife told me that, yeah.
But you should ignore them, man. You should ignore them. What's the point of a whereabouts do you clean windows?
Well, in South East Kent.
Whereabouts?
Faversham, little town called Faversham, Margate around there.
Faversham, OK. John Ketley's up at the board. He's got the whole of the United Kingdom there.
I don't give a toss about Glasgow.
Do you give a hoot about Belfast?
No, I want to know what's happening down in my area of about 30-mile radius.
And there is one person and only one person to consult if you want to know what it's going to be like in your neck of the woods tomorrow.
Who's that?
You.
Oh, me?
You. You're an outdoors man.
Yeah.
You know what the clouds are doing.
Yeah.
You know where the weather's coming from.
I know enough of that in 1998. Yeah, it's been a lousy year.
Kevin, you can take the decision yourself.
I can. And they should be shot, a lot of them, I think.
Well, what's your rough going rate for a house?
Oh, it depends. My biggest job is about 80 quid down to £1 for the blunt, basically.
80 quid? Who'd you get 80 quid off to do their windows?
I'm not mentioning his name.
Oh, please.
No, because it's a good contract. I don't want to lose it.
No, but give us a clue. Radio, television or film?
No.
Business?
Business.
Business?
Yeah.
What sort of line? Porn?
No, it's old people, basically.
What? He makes money out of old people?
Well, it's an old kind of...
There's a lot of money to be made out of old people.
Well, yeah, they looked after
the last caller from Hove, you know, that's the biggest industry in Hove, old people.
Yeah.
The former British heavyweight champion. He made more money out of running an old people's home, I read,
yeah,
than being a boxer. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice talk, Jim.
And you, Tommy, again.
What a nice man.
I'll see you later.
Listen to me, all of you. Tommy Boyds.
10:53 and 10:89 a.m. Talk Radio.
What do you mean? Immediate gratification and constant change. What's that got to do with this?
Hold the barrel steady and jump in one at a time. Hold the barrel steady and jump in one at a time.
Tommy Boyd.
You don't need weather forecasters. They're an insult to our intelligence. They tell us things you don't need to know. It's not that they get it wrong. It's just that you don't need them. You can fly free of them. You know what the weather's going to be like in your neighbourhood better than they do. And Tracy calls from Essex. Tracy,
Hi.
You're on Talk Radio. Hi.
Tommy, I work for commodity brokers, and they pay for weather forecasts to be delivered, so they know what the grains and coffee and that are going to do.
But they don't. And the weather forecast doesn't help.
Well, all I know is because I only pay the bills, so I think it's, I think the weather's rubbish myself.
What commodity brokers do is necessarily bump up their outgoings so that when they charge their 17.5%, it's more.
But when they talk to clients, they've got to sound like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, they have to use some reason. One reason can be, on the weather forecast for 6 months' time.
Look, how do you know that your commodity brokers are actually paying a genuine Met Office and that those invoices...
That's what I do. I pay the bills.
Ah, yeah, but you don't know they might have set up some completely fictitious business somewhere, which... So, look, I could. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? What the summer's going to be like next year in Borneo? Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that the sort of thing?
Well, it don't matter, does it, as long as the client believes it?
Well, I know. Look, the whole world is built on BS.
I don't know what I'd get from Borneo, Monica.
Well, where do you get your coffee from then? Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Sunny. It's going to be very sunny in Costa Rica. If they grow coffee there, you know what the weather's going to be like.
No, but what it forecasts, if there's going to be a terrible drought or really you know, not just whether it's going to be sunny or like we do here,
Yeah.
but like really major things.
They can't do that. Otherwise, no hurricane would ever claim a life.
But if they always got it wrong, they'd stop paying for it, wouldn't they?
No, because like I said, as long as they're paying for it, they can pass that cost on to the client at a profit. That's what they do. That's how you do it. Believe me, you know that's true. You're an Essex
I'm
girl.
just telling you that someone else uses the weather.
I know, but they shouldn't. Thank you for your call. Free call, 0500 10 53 89. You don't need the weather.
Tommy Boyd Show.
Get real with the people on the dance floor.
Talk Radio.
Free call 0500 10 53 89.
I do, Gertie. I'm the bloke who's showing you how to be free. Free of everything. Free thought. I mean, just think about it. Why do you need so many weather forecasts coming at you right, left and centre? You do know as much as they do. They're only there to blind you with science and open fates. That's all weather forecasters are good for. Look what the wind's blown in. It's Paul from Harrow.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Welcome to Talk Radio.
Thank you. They're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. They've turned it into an art form.
Oh, my friend, if you think that's art...
No, listen, what they do is, first of all, you have Trevor McDonald finishing news at 10 with some reasonably unfunny joke, then they go to the weather.
Granted.
You have the hideous guy with the beard and the dodgy wig doing the wind, and you have, what's the name?
The Snow... I like the Snow Queen.
The Snow Queen's pretty good.
I like her. She's got a bit of attitude.
I think the icicle one's pretty dopey. She looks like Mrs. Merton.
Why does Sian Phillips do that with her hands?
Years of abuse, I understand. But be that as it may, the good thing about Sian is that she'll give you a national picture, which is a little bit depressing, but then you get your regional forecast with a bloke, and it's completely different.
It's not completely different.
Oh, it is?
No, it isn't. It more or less echoes what you have already seen.
And they use wonderful expressions.
Such as?
Well, they said the other day that sleet and snow was meandering in Scotland. What the hell was it doing meandering? And they said that the rain coming over the southwest of England was disorganised.
It doesn't light my fire, man.
There's something about the weather. In the old days, it'd be a black and white picture with a few clouds and sunshine symbols.
Do you want to be honest with me? There's not a lot going on for you, is there?
Oh, there is. I work for a pharmaceutical company. I spend all day lecturing consultants.
Like I said, there's not a lot going on for you, is there?
No, where would we be without, on a Friday night, knowing full well that all over England is going to be raining, but then when you get the regional forecast, there's going to be bright spells in between.
How hot is 17 Celsius?
48.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
See? You haven't got a clue, have you?
No, I haven't.
You haven't got a clue. You haven't got a clue. You haven't got a clue.
Let's face it, be honest. Everyone but everyone, even you, I bet, in the bowels of your mind, at 10:30 you think, I wonder what the weather's going to be like tomorrow.
No, I do not. I do not. I promise you I do not, and I promise you I never have. I wait just to see which sort of monster it is on the ITV weather, and I wait to see if it's Sian Phillips, because she fascinates me, her hands. The way she does, the way she demonstrates against the board, which they can't see. We all know that.
Yes.
You see, in America, weather people go on to be fantastic broadcasters. David Letterman.
Yes.
May he rest in peace. He started out as a weather forecaster. Okay.
It's true.
Now, who's our biggest star who started out as a weather forecaster?
Ian McCaskill.
Well, I was thinking of Ulrika Johnson, Ian McCaskill's...
Oh, she's the one who dyes the roots of her hair brown, isn't she?
You do a lot of these sort of jokes, don't you, Paul?
Sadly, no. But I tell you, what about their names?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, but thank you for trying anyway. Free call 0500 10 53 89.
10:53, 10:89 a.m. Talk Radio.
Here's Rob in Daventry. Rob, you're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tom. Love you, love your show.
I should hope so.
It's for you. It's the Frost Girl, I believe.
Yes.
It's got to be the rain one for me, where the water's coming out of her head and she puts her brolly up.
Oh, I know. All that PVC.
That's the one.
I don't think there's any secret about what those motifs all add up to for people just off to bed.
Yes, it's
I'm
terrible.
sorry to be...
terrible. Right, anyway, but I digress.
I digress?
I've got a confession to make. I know what an occluded front is.
No, you don't, actually.
Very sad person.
But sad twice over. Once because you think you do, and two because you're about to find out you don't.
Okay, let's have a go then. They probably taught me wrong. An occluded front is where the cold air has caught up with the warm air, and it lines up together and creates all sorts of horrible rain, all sorts of problems. Silence.
Yeah, you see, you know that, but then you still don't know, do you? What it means to you as a person. What does that mean to you? What have you got now you've got that?
I've got...
If there's an occluded front, passing over the south coast of Ireland, heading, as inevitably it does, because it all comes from the Atlantic, our weather, doesn't it? When was the last time we had a good blow from Norway?
Very rarely. We used to get that winter times, don't we?
Very rarely. Very rarely. They never say the weather's coming over from France. It's always coming from the Atlantic. All right, it's got an occluded front, and it's coming over the south coast of Ireland in a northwesterly direction, and it should be over Daventry in the next 24 hours. What does that mean?
It means absolutely nothing. All it basically is, it's a big con to keep weather forecasters in employment. If you want to know what the weather is for any specific thing, like sailing, flying, or whatever, there's literally hundreds of specialised services that you can get nowadays.
Columbus sailed to America in a wooden boat with a load of weak Portuguese men and poor food. Right?
That's right.
Was he on the radio all the way there, getting the weather?
It makes you wonder how he did it without...
No, it doesn't. It makes you wonder at the sad men who go out in yachts in this country at the weekend. Because, frankly, I can't see any point in yachting if there isn't a risk that you're going to sink. Is there? It's like parachuting. There's no point doing that if there isn't the occasional accident, because that way you are genuinely taking a risk.
Well, if you don't do a sport that's not dangerous, there's no point in doing it, because it don't feel like you're alive. So.
Couldn't agree with you more. Tommy Boyd. Mike's in London. Mike, you're on Talk Radio.
Tommy, I couldn't agree with you more. People that talk about the weather are boring.
It can start a conversation off. You know.
Well, I get fed up with it. All they can do is moan about the weather. Oh, it's rainy again. I can't remember a weekend where I wasn't able to dry my washing on the clothesline.
Here's a challenge for you. Here's a challenge. What age are you?
42.
If you live to be 142, Mike, all right, and you spend your life cycling around the country lanes of this wonderful country, you will never meet a farmer for whom the weather this year hasn't been a nightmare.
You're absolutely right.
I know.
Yes, but you don't meet many... I don't know. Farmers seem to do okay. All the ones I know do okay.
Take last Saturday. My team's game was rained off, waterlogged. Pompey, playing Norwich. Just as well. We were down to 8 fit men. Anyway, my mate kept checking the weather forecast. And he kept checking CFAX. I said to him, just go to the window, look up. It is raining. It will be raining. The game is off. I was right that he wouldn't concede. You don't need these people.
Maybe I'm peculiarly optimistic, but a couple of weeks ago I was going to take my son fishing, and a work colleague mentioned to me on the Friday, oh, what's the weather going to be like? And to be honest with you, Tommy, I hadn't even thought about it. It doesn't even concern me.
No, because if you're going fishing, damn it, you're going fishing.
Absolutely. We would have had a barbecue with a tarpaulin up. We would have done everything in just the same way.
This is, you see, we're dividing into two types, aren't we, humanity?
Absolutely.
Those who run shy of the weather.
And those who don't let it affect them.
It doesn't affect us, does it? We've got, like I said, we've got covered shopping ways. All our cars these days are covered. We don't care about motorcyclists. They probably love the rain anyway.
Yeah, it's nice and fresh when it rains. It's lovely.
Affect anybody, and when it matters, they get it wrong. So let's just scrap the whole thing. Let's get rid of the lot of them and make life more interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Find something better to talk about.
I'm grateful for your wisdom, Mike.
Thanks for starting. Enjoy the show.
Tommy Boyd.
Here's Danny in London. Danny, you're on Talk Radio.
Hello?
Danny.
Yeah, read this bit of the weather. I think they get it right, you know, but they get it hours out of step. If they say it's going to rain in the afternoon, it usually doesn't rain until the evening. They usually tend to be 4 or 5 hours behind, and it's sunshine in the afternoon. Yes. It seems to be the exact opposite of what they say. The other thing that annoys me is when
the local television stations, especially in London, talk about the weather in Moscow and then Berlin and then Paris and God knows New York. I mean, I'm in London. I want to know what the weather's telling me in London.
I know. That fat bloke in the brown jacket on the BBC with the glasses.
I mean, what does it matter what the weather's doing in Moscow or
he sometimes shows you a map of the rain in New Zealand.
And all before...
It's not interesting.
About your own area.
Don't go home.
Exactly. And the other thing is, if I might be a little controversial on this, read the biggest cock-up of all, read the weather. You know where I'm referring to that night, the Thursday night in October 87, when Michael Fish said, well, Mrs. So-and-so said there's a hurricane on the way. And he said, well, if you're listening, Mrs. So-and-so, don't worry, there isn't. Not bloody much.
Not bloody much.
He should have been... I think, you know, he should have been sacked. I mean, here he is, 11 years later, and he's still telling us the weather. I
know. But they've taken...
No. The only hurricane in 300 years.
No, the nation has taken their revenge on Michael Fish.
Have they?
Yes, by making Ian McGaskill more famous.
Oh, yeah.
By having him on Rory Bremner. And have I got news for you?
Oh, that's true, yes, and he's on adverts now as well, isn't he?
Exactly. So poor old Michael Fish, who's been doing it since about 1968...
Is it as long ago as that?
Never gets asked to open a fate. Never gets asked, you know... to appear on This Is Your Life.
No. Yeah, probably because I think it might rain the day he opens it or something.
And I know a little bit about the mentality of weather forecasters, because I've met a few of them, and I can tell you that there is no crueler punishment than that ignominy.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about. Free call 0500 10 53 80. I used to work with a woman called Wincy Willis, who was probably the first character weather forecaster we had in this country. Wincy Willis. And she replaced a chap who was quite good fun. This was at TVAM. Do you remember TVAM in its early days? I wish they'd dust off some of those shows and put them on. We had an admiral. He was a rear admiral in the Navy. He retired. Plymouth boy. He was a lot of fun. But he did it like a battle plan of Britain. And so he went west, literally, and they got in Wincy Willis, who used to do some badinage with Nick and Anne. I wonder how Anne Diamond is these days. That's another phone in, isn't it? Sorry, I'm wandering here, but that's how conversation works. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Hell of a black eye, though. What's he talking about at the moment, the bloke on the radio? I don't know. Dave calls from Bracknell. Dave, you're on Talk Radio.
Hi, Tommy.
Dave.
Tommy, I'm in Bracknell here. We've got the most powerful computer in the world. It's sat here. What do I use it for? Particular meaning in life? No. What do I use it for? The flipping weather. Can you believe it? They spend billions on it.
Billions?
Billions. We've got the most powerful computer in the world, and it's used to tell us what weather we're going to have.
I know. Sometimes when NASA send up a probe...
Yeah?
Right, it's not to find out if there are aliens, or if there's gold on the moon. It's...
What's it used for?
Weather!
Can you believe it?
I can't!
Can you believe how much money? Do you think it's a conspiracy?
We're all mad. It is a conspiracy.
I think there's a few backhanders going on.
I'm sure you're right. Do you know
what? I went into this weather place once, the meteorological office. They got a bit of seaweed, and a few fir cones, and they're playing Space Invaders on the computer.
Do you know?
That's a fact.
That on the satellite, there is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week television station broadcasting nothing but...
I watch nothing else.
The weather.
I watch it all the time. I never miss it. If you miss it, you've had it, because what happens, you don't know the weather.
And it's got a rival. There's 2 of them now. 2 channels just giving you the weather.
I flick between the 2 of them. just in case you miss something important.
Oh, thank you for your call. Drive on, drive safely. Bracknell's a hell of a place these days. Have you heard of Bracknell? It's halfway between London and Wales. A bit nearer London than Wales. And it used to be a right seedy dump, but now it's a huge seedy dump. And, everybody is based there now. All Japanese companies. Bracknell is a success story waiting to happen. All the Japanese companies and motor companies and German motor companies and the computer businesses in Bracknell. If you flew over Bracknell, all the satellite dishes on the ground, the big ones, the 12-footers, you know? You flew over Bracknell, it would look like it had acne. There's something going on in Bracknell. We checked out Hull. I think Bracknell could be the next one. Get our calling card. We're discussing the weather.
www.anorak.dillweed.get a life.
Dave is on the line from Suffolk. Dave.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Dave.
Listening to the last caller, it just reminded me of the joke. What's the definition of a space invader?
Don't know.
Flea in a weatherman's ear.
Yes, fair enough. I won't be using it, but anyway,
there was a lady on the telly yesterday. She was from Bracknell, and she was talking about global warming.
Yes.
That would frighten the life out of me. Global warming, what is that?
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't feel like it today.
It's a tool for lazy broadcasters and teachers to make a lesson plan or an alarmist documentary.
They're just nightmares.
Yeah. Same with the hole in the ozone layer.
I used to live in Bracknell 6 years ago, and I moved to Suffolk. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, that might not have been a good career move, actually. I don't know what they've got in Suffolk, Dave, but whatever they've got more of it in Bracknell at the moment.
Well, I bought myself a shop, so I'm doing it.
What do you sell?
The best sausages in the world.
You sell sausages?
The best in the world.
Sausages?
I made them. I just made them.
Really? So they're top quality?
And the other thing was the best weather forecast.
No lips in yours?
No.
No eyelids?
Only what I would eat.
No rectums?
Only what I would eat. Nothing else.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't eat any others.
No.
What was I going to say? The best
I know
weather
what I was going to
forecast
say.
was Caroline Ahern.
Why don't they use... You know when women have a baby?
Yeah.
At home, these days...
Oh, no,
It's
don't.
fashionable to eat the placenta. Could you make sausages with the umbilical cord? You could mince the placenta and squeeze it into the umbilical cord, which is about, what, how long is it?
I never really saw that. All I saw was a little knot on the baby's belly button.
They're quite long. I think the umbilical cord's about 12 feet long.
I got kicked out at that point.
You could make, I reckon you could make about 6 pounds of placenta sausages.
I should think that the skins would be a bit too tough to chew on.
But they used to use the bowel, didn't they?
We still do. Intestines of a pig.
Okay.
For the skin.
Yeah. And that's not too tough, is it?
And the ones of the sheep for the chipolata.
But I would have thought the umbilical cord would have been more tender than a bowel.
I never got down to chew it.
I'm only asking the question. Why don't you see if you can find a woman in Suffolk who is prepared to donate her placenta and umbilis and make some sausages? I tell you, Dave, it'd be in all the papers. BSE free.
That's a little bit like cannibalism to me. What was I going to say? What about Caroline Ahern?
Was she a weather forecaster?
Yeah, she's Mrs. Merton on the Fast Show.
I know. I watch telly.
It's a cool show.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's it. She's the best.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about weather forecast, Tom, not umbilical cord.
I'm sorry, yes, I like that.
Come on, I know you'd like to diversify and wander off the subject.
I'm catching up, but when you said Caroline Ahern, I thought of her as the fish woman in the Fast Show.
No, she's a Scorcho.
I know, she's Scorcho. And she's the fish woman.
Oh, I know.
And what other sketches does she do?
Oh, well, I'm not very good. My daughters are better at that than I am.
Well, the Fast Show?
Yeah.
Cracking, isn't it?
Well, yeah, they can do all the... They like the drunken guy in front of the fire.
Mm.
I don't know how they do the voice, but they can do it.
Yeah.
It's a shame that I was from school. Would have put her on, but...
Listen, thank you for your call.
Cheers.
Talk to you again. Good luck with your sausages. The number is free call, 0500 10 53 89. Weather forecasts. You just don't need them. You think you do, but you don't. Lighten up. Free yourself. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Talk Radio. Tommy Boyd. It's time to poison the water hole.
Cutting edge.
Tommy Boyd sucks.
Because I think what you're saying, you should remember the D-Day 6th of June. Yeah, the weather forecast was vital to get the landings across there. And also one or two other points. A lot of these weather forecasts is for advertising. They're sponsoring the weather.
But how did they do the weather forecast in 1944? They didn't have satellites.
No, they had balloons and they had reports from different parts of Atlantic on all this. They were communicating radio reports and everything, and they had to get it correct. And also, you look today...
How did they do the weather forecast in 1944?
I'm telling you, the Atlantic was clear by then because they had radio ships out there, weather ships. They were transferring the reports to Southampton, near where you live. They were reporting down there when the boats can start to go.
In any case, you've got your facts wrong because the weather wasn't what they thought it was going to be in 1944 on June the 6th.
They had to make the best of it.
There was a swell in the channel.
It wasn't perfect, but also,
They didn't think there was going to be a swell.
I realize this, but also, when you get the reports, today is raining there, tomorrow will be guaranteed clear in southeast. You watch out how good they are. They are very correct for 24 hours. But
they let the landing craft go 12 miles from Normandy beaches because they'd been told there wouldn't be a swell. A lot of the landing craft tragically sank because of the swell. And every single soldier who set foot on the beaches of Normandy was seasick because of the swell, which the weather forecast had said wouldn't be there.
You're trying to shut me down. You're not addressing the issue.
Well, you're talking rubbish. You're an idiot. You're a complete twit.
That's good, because I should be talking to you. We're both talking rubbish. It's good. It keeps this show going, because you don't need telephone, you don't need weather forecast, you don't need radio. Okay, goodbye.
And next time you slam the phone down, do it properly. When you slam the phone down, it's no good slamming a modern phone down in the middle of the receiver. You've got to miss, and that makes a bang, and then you fiddle with it, and you put it into its cradle. And then we get to hear bang, wiggle, 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 brrr. That's what you want. Terrible, man. Harry calls from Newport. Harry, what was his problem?
I don't know what his problem was, Tommy, but, I'm old enough to remember the war as well. And we never had weather forecasts in the war, not on the papers, not on the radio.
No.
It would give information to the Germans.
Yes.
And we managed quite well from 1939 to 1945.
Exactly.
No problems at all.
Yes.
And we've got a saying in this part of the world, if you can see the church tower, it's going to rain.
No, if you can't
see it, it's already raining.
If you can't see it, it's already raining.
Yeah.
And if you can, it's going to rain.
It's going to rain, yeah.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, I know that one, yeah.
Yeah. But
the further west you go, the more people say that.
Yeah, and have you noticed, Tom?
No.
The weather forecast, they never tell you what the weather forecast is. They tell you what you've had.
Yes, they do.
So, it's been heavy rain and wind over most part of England and Wales today.
Yes.
Well, I know what. I've already had that.
Exactly.
So
you're old enough to remember the war, are you?
Oh, yeah.
And you listened to the radio during the war?
Yeah.
Do you remember Lord Haw-Haw?
Oh, yes, Germany calling.
He was good, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he was from this part of the world as well, Welshman.
Did you?
No, he wasn't. He was an Irishman.
Well, he was American, but you're damn close. He lived somewhere.
Yeah.
He was good, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, Germany calling.
Did you used to listen to him?
I can, I was only a little lad in the war, but I can remember listening to the radio, and my parents would have the radio on, and we'd get Lord Haw-Haw and all have a good laugh.
He used to annoy people, didn't he?
Well, if you took him seriously, he did, yeah.
But he had a huge audience.
Oh yes, yeah, just like you, Tommy.
I was going to say, the only problem with the allegory is they hanged him.
Yes. Well, you never know. You never know, Tommy.
120 minutes with the half-wit herdsman from the next town.
Yeah. Tommy.
No. Rose is on the line from London. Rose, you're on Talk Radio.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I wanted to tell you, I do enjoy the weather programmes, probably as much as I enjoy, more than I enjoy the news. And I enjoy the people who present the weather forecast. I think they're sweet and calm, nice to look at. They seem to be living in a slightly different world to us, and I like that as well.
It would be a lot easier to get hold of a Littlewood's or a Freeman's catalogue and browse through the pages, the fashion pages of those. That's what I do.
No, that's not my thing. I'm a gambler.
You're a gambler?
I'm a gambler.
What sort of a gambler?
Yeah, I'm a gambler.
What do you do?
Now, what I do with my blackjack, or I do roulette mostly, because it's easy, isn't it? But apart from that, my sister and I, we decide in the mornings, she's at some distance from me, so we talk, and we say what we'll do that day, and we have to say, well, she says, well, the cricket may be rained off, and then we'll have a film. And so we've watched the forecast, and we have a gamble on whether the cricket will be called off or not. To us, it's a tremendous amount of fun, and I do enjoy the integrity and the respect of the presenters, and they are very, very presentable, and they're in a world
Rose,
calm.
I don't like to interrupt you, but I'm losing the will to live.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm boring you. So life is mostly boring.
Not if I can help it. Free call 0500 1053 89. I'm Tommy Boyds.
How good it is. You're listening to it.
Talk Radio.
There's a good argument for listening.
Tommy, please keep listening. Tommy's just bought a timeshare in Lanzarote.
We've got Howard on the line. He's a gay crane driver from Brighton. Howard, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. How you doing?
I'm well, you?
Well, myself and Michael, who drives the other crane on this job, we love the weather forecast because if it's too windy, which is over 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, we get paid to play cards all day.
Isn't that nice, the pair of you up there?
It's lovely, yeah.
What can you see from up there at the moment?
Well, I'm not even going to try and tell you what weather's coming in, but we can see a lovely old Elizabethan house called Wakehurst, and that's about it. A load of trees and a load of horrible old builders.
A load lavatories?
Horrible old builders.
And whereabouts exactly is your crane?
It's in Haywards Heath, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, far from the station?
Not far, no, about 3 miles.
Oh, right, I'll be going across the viaduct later tonight. Give me a little wave.
We'll give you a little wave.
Cooey.
Yeah, no worries.
Cheers.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. In the next hour of the programme, it's time to pay tribute to a noble breed of men and women. It's one of the last things left that we do best in this country. That's hairdressing. Our hairdressers are that good. Time has come to box them up and export them big time. Tom calls from Great Yarmouth on the weather. Tom, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think you're missing the point. The weather forecast, especially the national one, it's nothing to do with the weather. It's simply down, it's a geography lesson. We all hated it when we were at school, but now we get it exported into our living rooms via the TV. At least we all know where London is, and we know we're left of Europe. At least we can see where all the stupid laws are made from us, and we can point some aspect of that side of it.
Oh, you wouldn't be a farmer, would you?
I am a farmer.
Oh, good Lord, there's a surprise.
I love the weather this year, and I'd love it every year like that. So, there you go, there's an exception to the rule.
Now, I wonder how he knew that Tom was a farmer. May have been something to do with his rather flat, shallow sense of humour. Could have been something to do with the fact that he made reference to the fact that men in suits somewhere else make difficult laws for them to deal with. And yeah, there was a tractor going in the background, I know, but... Mike calls from Stour Bridge. Mike, you're on Talk Radio.
Hey, Tommy.
Mike.
The shipping forecast, what's that all about?
What is that all about?
I mean, what does that mean?
What? It's... I know. Did you ever see Ever Decreasing Circles?
I did. You used to listen to it?
The strange couple, yeah.
Howard and Hilda.
Very odd people.
I know someone like that.
Yeah.
They listen to the weather forecast.
Thank you for your call. A word with Alan, who calls. He's in London. Alan, you're on Talk Radio.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi there, Tommy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But what gets on my nerves even worse than that is seeing it in the daily newspaper.
Yes.
And they tell you yesterday's weather. For God's sake, why do we have to know yesterday's weather?
Yes.
And by the way, Michael Fish was on Call My Bluff, so he isn't doing too badly.
That's not the same as being on Have I Got News.
That's true, but he's still, doing something out there. He's still not too bad.
Call My Bluff, hosted by Bob Holness. And Maria comes through. I bet she's going to read the weather. Maria comes through to read the 4 o'clock bulletin, and I know that bottom of her pile is going to be the weather.
Yeah.
And I must have an argument with her about why.
Go on and tell us from me as well. Stop reading that weather, and especially in the papers. I could get on my nerves.
Alan, thank you for your call. And why you have the weather in the newspaper, which must have been written the night before. So the weather forecast is bound to be at least 12 hours out of date by the time you get it. It's like the Guardian newspaper, which on a Monday has reports on all the football matches that happened the previous Saturday, as though because the Guardian doesn't come out on a Sunday, nobody knows what went on until Monday morning. The arrogance of Fleet Street. Free call 0500 10 53 89 as we turn our attention to Britain's greatest living export. Hairdressers. This is Talk Radio.
Keeping an eye on the...
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.